Hey guys, question. Who is the only Ballon d'Or winner ever to play in MLS? Keep watching to find out. But I am here to discuss who is the best ever MLS player. Now, we're not talking in terms of skill, in terms of their impact. We are literally talking the winningest player, the most successful player ever to play in MLS. And we're going to count these down. And I am not alone. I am here with my good friend and Scouse extraordinaire, Nipper. How are you?
Hello. Yeah, I'm good. I'm very excited to be talking about this with you today. I'm a little nervous, but yeah, quite excited.
Well, welcome. I've been meaning to get you on. You are one of the people I know who is just knows the most about football. You can pull those stats out from everywhere. Whenever we're in the pub, you are pulling these stats out right, left, and centre. I've never met anybody with such an encyclopedic knowledge of football.
Well, thank you very much. Google is my friend.
Good stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump right into this and we're going to count down the top 10 players with the most successful records. So it's not based on a point system and it's graded from the highest honours down to lower cups and that sort of thing. So here's how the points are scored. If you've won a Champions League or equivalent in another region, you score 100 points. If you have the secondary Europe, so the Europa League or equivalent on a different continent, 50 points. A World Cup is worth 100 points. A European Championships or other regional is 50 points also. If you've won the league in a top 5 league, so this is coming first, every single time you do that, you get 50 points. If you've won Player of the Year, that's another 50 points. So again, multiple seasons, multiple sets of that 50 points. The main cup in your country, that's another 25 points. And finally, the biggest individual honour, the Ballon d'Or. That is worth 100 points. So anyway, using this point system, we are going to count down who the top 10 players are. And starting off with 67 appearances for Inter Miami, only retiring recently, we have Gonzalo Higuain. Nico, what do you know?
Well, Higuain is one of those players who, when you first look at his basic resume, he's played for some of the biggest clubs on the planet. You know, he's played for River Plate, so he's turned out in the Super Clasico in Argentina. He then moved to Real Madrid, so you know, obviously everyone knows Real Madrid and their pedigree in Europe. He moved from there to Inter, and then from there he's played for Napoli, AC Milan. I'm sure I'm missing a little club, Chelsea, and then went to Miami. So, you know, he's played for massive clubs. He has been successful in his career, but for rightly or wrongly, I think Higuain's someone who's got a bit of a reputation, someone who's kind of more likely the bridesmaid than the bride. You know, he's more often than not the runner-up. He was runner-up in the World Cup. That's a couple of times, I think he was runner-up in the Copa America, and he's also become runner-up in the Champions League as well.
Yes, and he's got a Europa League, but not a Champions League, so no CL medal to his name.
Indeed, and another reputation he's built up a little bit over the years. Again, this is rightly or wrongly, but this is a reputation he's built up. He's someone who, in the bigger games, can bottle it. You know, misses big chances, can get in his own head, and
yeah, definitely. And we've definitely heard a mixed response from Inter Miami fans for his for the seasons he played there. Sometimes he was great, and a lot of the times he did go missing. I have to say, I watched his final game, and it was very, very emotional. Obviously, his amazing career coming to an end there. He was really, really emotional on that day. It was kind of lovely to see, and it was quite a nice end for him, actually. But yeah, I think, you know, the top 10 MLS players of all time in terms of success, I don't think that's a bad record.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And like I said, you know, he's played for big clubs, so you know the chance for success there is always greater. But yeah, he's had a good career, but one of those that you always look back on and think possibly could have been better.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's go on and talk about number 9. Now, this player has the second most MLS appearances on the top 10 that we've got here, and it is David Villa, of course, of NYCFC. Now, I mean, it's a huge name in the history of the sport, a very, very influential one, and was part of iconic Spain teams. What do you reckon, Nipper?
I'm surprised he didn't score higher, to be honest.
Yeah.
I love David Villa, always have. At first, saw him when he was playing for Valencia, and him and David Silva playing for Valencia. Just absolutely beautiful players, just fantastic.
Amazing.
And, as someone like myself, is a bit shorter in stature. He was a bit of a role model.
I didn't explain why you're called Nipper, but we can work it out.
Yeah, I think I've just let the cat out the bag there. But again, he's someone who's probably played in more countries than you realise. Obviously, people know about playing in Spain, playing for Spain, played for Barcelona, played for Valencia. He went to NYCFC, as you said. But after that, went to Australia, I think, for a season or two.
Yeah, that does ring a bell, yeah.
And then ultimately finished off his career at Vissel Kobe in Japan. So he's definitely done the rounds, and he's won a lot everywhere, almost everywhere he's been. But yeah, he's someone who I'm surprised, especially given the international honours, didn't score higher.
He's got the Champions League. He's got a European Championships and a World Cup, of course. So 3 Big 5 league wins, Player of the Year, a few cups in there, pretty decent.
Yeah. Very good career. And if you think about, just trying to think of, for some of these players, I've been trying to think of moments or say like famous memories of these people that might stand out to the audience that may not have seen them. The one that strikes out for me for Villa is always, as you mentioned, the Champions League, just the one Champions League winning medal in 2011, I think, against Manchester United.
Oh, yeah.
And I think, if I'm not wrong, I think he scored the 3rd goal from just outside the box. And there's a brilliant shot of it from coming down the pitch. He curls it just out of the way of Van der Sar. And Messi stood there, and as soon as it goes in, you just see Messi drop to his knees and celebrate up the sky. It's quite a wonderful thing.
I mean, gorgeous. I mean, just talking about all these players in the same place. It's just absolutely amazing. What a wonderful golden age. That's just fantastic. All right, we're moving on. Number 8, and possibly the most influential person on MLS, David Beckham, with 98 appearances for LA Galaxy. Nipper, discuss.
Well, I don't think it's too much of a stretch to say, Tom, that Beckham turned out for a team that is not particularly popular with you or I in Manchester United. And I'll see what you think of this, but on a personal note, I don't think I actually really admitted to myself or accepted how good Beckham was as a player until he actually left the UK and started playing in Spain and France and Italy and America as well. Just like, oh, okay, yeah, you are good.
Yeah, I think absolutely. And I don't know whether it was because he really excelled at Madrid and then beyond that as well, or whether we had just decided not to see it initially, and then, but for England, he won me over as well. He was a bit of a hero on the national stage, so on the international stage as it is. So, yeah, no, I think I would absolutely agree with that, and it's definitely his league wins, his big 5 league win that really push him up this league. It's obviously England's success on the international stages was very poor, but Manchester United and Real Madrid have done quite well.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a player in Ferguson's teams with Man United in that period, then yeah, you're gonna have a bag full of league titles, aren't you?
Absolutely, yeah. So, yeah, that particular medal he's had quite a lot of times, and a Player of the Year, which is decent as well, which is quite rare on this list.
And then when we're talking about moments as well, I mean, I guess I'd probably mention 2 for Beckham, which probably stand out as the club player and the international player. The international player, as you would say, the free kick goal against Greece.
Oh yeah, that's it. Well, it's up there, top 3 of his, isn't it?
Yeah. And then the other one would be the halfway line goal against Wimbledon.
And they did another halfway line one in MLS. So the Galaxy, yeah. Well, it's certainly a long way out. I don't know if it was quite halfway or where exactly it was, but it was like Rooney. He had, he's got a bit of an iconic one on that front.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. So yeah, no, I think very obviously much more influential. From he literally changed the game. There is the Beckham rule in MLS, and obviously is owner of one of the teams now. So got his own franchise. So yeah, massive influence there. Next one, I would say much less influential, but still an absolutely huge name in different ways. It's Kaka.
Kaka. Now, I love Kaka. But his career outside of Italy that's his most glorious period, certainly. He's probably got winners' medals in Spain, but he didn't really perform at Madrid. I mean, there were multiple reasons for that, not least Mr. C. Ronaldo. But
I'm not going to ask you what the C stands for.
Cuthbert, obviously. But yeah, I mean, our AC Milan as part of that famous Milan side in the early to mid 2000s, he was the jewel. He was fantastic. Not a big goal scorer, but could certainly have an eye for goal. But just creativity, elegance. He was just a beautiful player to watch.
Absolutely, and I think Milan has had a lot of these players in the past, but he is just one that I just admired. Just remember, just loving watching. And his CV, like you said, it isn't as impressive as it maybe should be. Only a couple of league, Big Five league wins, one Champions League, one World Cup, which helps.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
3 Player of the Years, 5 of the cups on the other end there, and probably most tellingly, 1 Ballon d'Or.
There we go.
There he is. I would not have picked it, to be honest. I didn't think it would be him. It would be the one, but there we go. That's one for the pub quiz. Just 75 appearances for Orlando City was Kaka, so not the most on that front, but somebody who has had a bit more of a splash and continues to on the MLS stage, one Wayne Rooney with 48 playing appearances for DC United and managerial games still counting.
Yeah. Now, Wayne, again, suffers from the fact that he played mainly for a team that we don't like, and 2 in my case, for Manchester United and Everton, where he started his career. But Rooney was he's a phenomenal player, and even just when he first burst onto the scene at 16 years old, he was just an absolute bull, just a broad-shouldered bull of a man.
Yeah.
Look more like a middleweight boxer than a footballer.
Oh, yeah, 100%, absolutely.
And I think maybe that's something that maybe his mid-20s maybe worked against him. He didn't quite look after himself as much as he should have. Could have maybe done better, but you can't. No one could say that he's not had a great career. He's a sensational player.
Oh yeah,
and for all the moments I think that you could pick for Rooney in international football for England, or at Manchester United, or even his debut goal at Everton, the main one, and one of the best, I think, especially for people who kind of saw him in his last couple of years in England and thought he was well past it. The DC United.
I was hoping you would say this. Yes,
it's incredible. It's genuinely incredible.
Insane. Like one single player to affect a match that much, within. I don't know how many seconds he does it in, but it is insane for a player of that age as well.
Because it's a burst of pace to catch up with the player on the break that you thought was probably beyond him a couple of years before.
Absolutely.
Inch perfect tackle, and then just a brilliant ping up into the box. Sensational stuff.
Absolutely, this is a player who looked at the top of his game. He just showed his natural talent coming through and showed how much it meant to him as well. He wasn't phoning it in.
Yeah.
He wasn't just there for a payday. He really wanted it and he meant it. And I all respect him for that, man. I thought, yeah, really, really fantastic attitude as well as player.
I think that's one of the things about Rooney always in his career. He played like it always meant something to him, always.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, no, very begrudgingly, I think he's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, another player who will split opinion, especially amongst the English contingent, is currently playing for LAFC. 18 appearances so far for Giorgio Chiellini.
Chiellini, he's not going to have a great highlights reel because he's just not that sort of player.
No, true.
But he comes from that incredible long line of hard Italian central defenders who would rather kill you than let you get past them.
Yes, I absolutely agree. And he's not a small guy either. So he's got the physique for a defender as well, you know.
Yeah, obviously his most productive years were at Juventus, so he probably has picked up quite a few league titles there. In terms of international honours, is there a World Cup in there, or did he just miss out?
I haven't got it on my list here. I've obviously got the Euros recently, but I don't think he was in that World Cup team.
Yeah, I think he would have missed out on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, but there is, as you quite rightly expect, he's got the most Big Five league wins of this top 10 with 9. Which is quite incredible. But if you hit a dynasty, then yeah, you're going to be successful.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, I know this sounds daft, but in the sense that he doesn't have much of a highlights reel, and that's true. So if you're trying to pick out big moments for Chiellini, it won't be one he's happy with. It won't be one he's particularly fond of remembering. But he was the person who was bit by Luis Suarez. I should specify the third time Suarez bit someone.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So it's at least the third. I mean, there could be more. Yeah. Brilliant. What a claim. I hope that's I hope he's rightly proud of that one. But yeah, another one that, I mean, at number 5 there, I mean, fair play to him. You know, I think, you know, most of his points came in those league wins, but overall, yeah, very influential player on the international stage as well as the national one. So heading into the position number 4, I mean, I was going to say arguably, probably my favourite player on this list. 122 appearances for New York Red Bulls, Thierry Henry.
My favourite player on this list too. Just an absolute joy to watch. Fantastic footballer. Just someone who started off as a winger. I think he was managed originally in Monaco, where he first under Wenger to start with, I believe.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah.
Went to Juventus for a couple of seasons, but didn't do much there. Still a winger. Came to England and just turned into the most effective winger come striker hybrid coming in off that left-hand side that I think the country had ever seen by that point.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, was I think, yeah, defined that position. Just, I mean, along with the, you know, a lot of other players in that Wenger team, which obviously, you know, sort of redefined the Premier League, I think, and football in general potentially. But he was just one of the most gorgeous players to watch, as well as being completely effective. Just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. And, you know, his honours, you know, you'd be talking, there'd be league titles in England, league titles in Spain, where I'm sure there must be a European Cup.
Yeah, we've got one European Cup on here, 1 World Cup, a European Championships, 5 big league wins. Yeah, so that's an impressive CV. And like I said, like you said, he's done it in a number of different places as well.
Yeah. And then, of course, someone, I mean, possibly maybe less of an impact. Maybe someone will have to correct me on this, as Rooney at Red Bulls.
Oh, Red Bulls, sorry, yeah, Philly Rooney.
With Henry at Red Bulls. But certainly someone who I think would always give the impression that even if physically he wasn't quite at the top level, he'd still try his damnedest. He wasn't there for any pay.
Absolutely, and it's very much not a sort of Higuain sort of thing where the fans of the team look back and go, it wasn't quite there. Yeah. If you talk to any Red Bulls fans, or certainly the ones I have, they're very misty-eyed about the Henry years, as you well should be.
Absolutely,
very special player. So entering the top 3 now, and with 12 appearances for LAFC, but I think a larger impact than just those 12. And I think the importance of the goals is going to highlight that. Gareth Bale.
Yeah, the importance of the goals, absolutely. Was it his final goal won them the equalised at least in extra time to bring them to
Liverpool in winning them? That's right.
Yeah. So I mean, if what a way to go out for start.
Oh yeah, and he's got a highlights reel as long as your arm as well.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And it's crazy to think that for all his highlights reel, everything like that, it nearly never happened. He was a left back and not a very popular one.
Swindling at Spurs in the squad, and just think, okay, he might make it, I guess. But
there was a whole joke about him being cursed because it was like something over like 24, 25 appearances that he made without a win. So it's like this whole thing that he was cursed and should never play, else we'll never win.
You'll never win. Every time you play, we lose. 5 Champions Leagues later.
Yeah. So it's amazing what can happen when you look at a player and go, "Oh, you're playing left. No, you should be playing left wing." No,
exactly. Yes. Yeah. Who was in charge of Spurs at that time?
I'm sure Harry Redknapp takes credit, but I'm not sure if it was him.
Yeah, he would absolutely take credit. I mean, why not? Let's give it to him. That's fine.
He needs the lift. He's not very popular, Harry.
Yeah, sure he is on the touring circuit. But no, yeah, I mean, absolutely massive name. Obviously, he's been ridiculed a little bit for with the golf jokes and all that sort of stuff, and the way it ended in Madrid. But I think looking over his career, there's few that can boast a more successful career.
Absolutely.
Well, that's just 2 on this list, which by these numbers, and we shall move on to 60 appearances for NYCFC, the legend that is Andrea Pirlo.
Another player who, just the mention of his name makes you feel a little bit misty-eyed.
Oh yeah.
Another player who was in the AC Milan team in the early mid to late 2000s with Kaka. Absolutely beautiful player.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And a very, very cool man.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's one of the coolest, one of the icons up there.
Yeah. It's crazy to think as well. I'm sure the stats on silverware will bear this out. He was released from AC Milan on a free because they basically decided, oh, you've got nothing left in the tank. You can't give anything else. Went to Juventus and then just went on a tear and won everything.
Absolutely right. Yeah, we're looking at 2 European Cups, 1 World Cup, 6 league wins in the Big 5, 4 Player of the Year, a couple of cups in there as well. Yeah, absolutely. Just made it look absolutely effortless as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was trying to think of big moments for Pirlo, but the one that just kept coming to my mind, and it's got nothing to do with being on the pitch. It was after Italy got knocked out the 2014 World Cup in Brazil.
Right.
As the team were walking, basically, to get on the coach to go home, he was wearing a t-shirt, white t-shirt, and it just said in black letters, "No Pirlo, no party."
Perfect. Iconic. Absolutely. And then how true. I mean, yeah, one of the absolute icons, who would make anybody's all-time 11. I would have thought, well,
absolutely,
that's a maybe, but it's fantastic, absolutely wonderful player. Now we're coming to the top 1, and I know it was a player that I wasn't expecting to take the top spot before I started putting numbers to this. No. And so it is somewhat surprising, but we'll go through exactly why it is. Number 1 with 85 appearances for Chicago Fire, Bastian Schweinsteiger.
Yeah, like you, I was pretty shocked when it came in, and then you think about it, you take a step back and you think about it, and you go, well, yeah, obviously. He spent what 13 years as a first team player at Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
If you don't win a hatful of trophies in 13 years at Bayern Munich, something's gone wrong.
Absolutely right, and he does have 8 league wins in the Big 5 leagues, which is, I mean, that's pretty decent. Obviously, bettered only by Chiellini on this list, and he's got, of the top 3 columns that we've got here, Champions League, Europa League, and World Cup. Tick, tick, tick.
Yeah, absolutely. Now Schweinsteiger's one of those players. I mean, I can't admit to have watched too much of the Bundesliga during his time there. It wasn't that easy to access in England.
That's true, yeah.
So like you were limited to watching them in European games and things like that. It was someone who had this reputation for being like the motor of a team, a bit of a general in midfield, could play in multiple positions, really smart, really knew how to take care of the ball, and overall had a really good engine on, could run and run and run. Then he came to England, and then you saw him, and you thought, not so much. But that's probably because, being a bit unfair to the man, he was, in his early 30s by the time he came over. The English league is quite notoriously difficult to acclimatise to for some players, especially at that age. So, anyhow, I don't think he did himself a disservice at all. It's a shame we never got to see the best of him.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think that was a very, very patchy Man U team as well, that one.
Yeah.
It had some very good players and some very questionable ones as well. Some of the signings were a little bit dodgy, I think. So he didn't have the best of teams to play in, I don't think, either. So it was, a more difficult time, should we say, for him.
Yeah. And a more enjoyable time for us non-fans of Manchester United.
I am, of course, impartial.
I've not can't swear to have seen much of his career at Chicago Fire.
That's right.
I'd be very, very interested in the comments of people tell us how he performed. But I would assume he's someone who, like in England, performed diligently, was capable of magic, but on a less frequent basis, unfortunately.
Absolutely, yeah. Please do leave those in the comments if you watched him play for the Fire, because that would be very, very interesting for us to sort of mull over. Before we finish, I really wanted to go through a couple of the near misses, or the names that maybe you thought might be on the list, which didn't make the cut. Any that jump out at you as a lifelong Liverpool fan? And
well, I mean, yes. Less said about Stephen's time in the Galaxy, the better, I think, because I don't think he particularly performed well or did himself any services there. But yeah, he's one of my favourite players of all time. Of course, he won a lot of trophies, but there would have been no league titles in there, so that would have held him back quite considerably, I would have thought, in the ranking system.
Yes, I think, that's certainly one of the ones that the columns that is empty. But there is a Champions League in there.
Indeed.
And a Europa or equivalent here as well. So, it's not doing too shoddily. A couple of Player of the Years and a couple of cups in there as well. So, he's no slacker, is he?
No, but then, as we discussed as well, the lack of international honours is an impact there as well, which is going to be a problem for English players.
Absolutely. Lampard has suffered on that front as well, although having a pretty similar it was pretty similar score to Gerrard. I mean, they're pretty similar in lots of ways throughout their careers, weren't they? But and their management careers as well. Let's not go into that one. But the player that missed out, who would have been number 11, was Didier Drogba, who's one of my favourite strikers ever. I have to say, he's a wonderful player.
Yeah, I remember first time I saw Drogba, I think he was playing for Marseille, I think against Liverpool in what is now the Europa League, but would have been UEFA Cup then.
Yeah.
And he was terrified, quite frankly. He was horrible, just this big, strong presence up front that absolutely bullied us. And then he moved to Chelsea and kept doing it, which wasn't fun. Won hell of a lot in his time. really, really good player. And yeah, not surprised to see him score quite highly on the list.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, no, could have done a bit more, I think, with a few other breaks. But yeah, I suppose the only other person who I thought might have made more of an impact on this list was Chicharito, having had a career, in numerous places. But yeah, again, he wasn't too far off the top 10. I think he was sort of 3 or 4 places outside it. But yeah, any big memories of him, Hernandez?
Yes. Again, played for a team that we don't particularly like. But in that period with Ferguson, when he would have won, no doubt he would have picked up a league title or 2 in that time. I'm sure there'll be lots of people who, he may be an icon for Mexico. There'll be people who love him everywhere. But to me, he'll always be the bloke who scored his first goal in England by spooning the ball off the turf into his own face, into the net. He looked ridiculous, and then he ran off with no shame like he meant to do it.
As would I. Yes.
I had to rewatch it this morning, it's even more ridiculous than I remembered. It's fantastic. I love it.
It's to be honest, the longevity. I remember watching him play so long ago. I can't even think how long ago it was, but I looked a lot younger than I do now. And I've watched him play in the last few weeks, and he's still excellent. He's still effective. He's still a very, very good player at a high level. It's quite remarkable.
He's one of those players who, and I mean this in the nicest possible way, even though it may not come out that way. He's not someone who relies on like a physical attribute. Like he's not like Bale, where it's pace. So if you do get injuries over time, that reduces. He's not slow. Hernandez, he's absolutely not slow, but pace has never been. He's never been someone who you think will burn off defenders. He's not. He's not the bit tallest. He's not the strongest. So he has to rely on his brain. And the older he gets, the smarter he'll get, because he'll have more experience of knowing where to use himself. So it makes sense that he'd still be effective now.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I totally agree. And Carlos Vela, you could say a lot about as well. A lot of those characteristics would be very, very applicable to him as well. And actually, I was going to finish up there, but I've just thought of a player we haven't talked about in Ibrahimovic.
Oh, well. I seem to have a contrary view to the general consensus view on Ibrahimovic.
Well, that's interesting. Go on.
Now, I don't think it was probably until he reached Paris that he started to become anything more than just a half-decent player. He was a player with bags of skill, loads of talent, undoubtedly loads of talent, tons of arrogance, probably more than that of talent. But I remember playing against him when he was at Juventus, but obviously, as not me personally, obviously, was a Liverpool fan. Liverpool playing against him in Europe, and even when he was at Inter. And I wasn't concerned. I didn't think he'd score past us. I wasn't worried that this was a superstar that could terrorize us and strike at any minute. I thought, nah, he's all right, but he's nothing special. He
has had that habit of just pulling goals out of nowhere.
Absolutely.
And not necessarily affecting a game, but then just being able to score at will, it seems.
Yeah. And, if you talk about moments, he's probably got a show reel to himself as well.
Oh, yeah.
But it seemed to be, for me, when he went to Paris Saint-Germain, he kind of hit this different level. He was suddenly an icon in this team, especially a newly rich team that was looking to galvanize itself around this one person. Yeah. And he became like a bit of the icon that he always thought he was, maybe. and that kind of, built up to like a new level. And the goal he scored, was it for Sweden against England? The overhead kick from right near the byline.
Yes,
ridiculous goal.
Absolutely insane.
Just to have the nerve to even try that is crazy.
Yeah. To even think that could be possible. Yeah, insane.
But all credit to him. He's still going at a high level. He must be nearly 40, 41 now.
Gosh, wow!
I would have thought. Obviously at that age, his body's not quite as strong as it used to be. He's not getting as many games as maybe he would have wanted to, but he's still playing professionally in one of the top 5 leagues in Europe. So
yeah, absolutely. I know I'm never going to do him down. It's, a ripe old age to still be no to desire to just go right. That's me done then.
Yeah.
Absolute legend on as far as that's concerned. But Bastian Schweinsteiger is our number 1 for this. And like I said, when I first started this experiment, wasn't expecting that to be the outcome. I mean, he was literally at the back of my head. Whereas, players like Beckham and Rooney and Kaka, Henry were like, these are going to be my top 5, And yeah, surprising. But yeah, maybe we'll do some different metrics next time and see how it turns out and on another level. But Nipper, thank you ever so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.